My guest this episode, Jamal Igle, is arguably the most important creator of independent comics working today. You are listening to The Literate Nerds. Okay, thanks so much once again for joining us, everybody. My guest tonight is comic book illustrator, writer, and publisher Jamal Igle, who is, one of my absolute favorite creators. At the start of the show, we usually talk about what the latest thing that my guest has going on. And I would guess the latest book you have going on, which I want to talk about the first volume of later on during the Literate Revisit, but volume 2 of The Wrong Earth is coming out. Or actually the first 2 issues are already out, right?
Yeah, the first 2 issues are out. Issue 3 is coming out in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so now the premise of The Wrong Earth, just to throw it out to everybody out there.
Okay, so the premise of The Wrong Earth, it's, I guess the best way to describe it, although we try not to use these exact words, is what if Adam West had to team up with Ben Affleck? Those versions of that character.
Yeah.
And hilarity ensues. So in the first miniseries, they actually end up going to each other's alternate dimensions and having to deal with their sidekicks and future sidekicks and villains. So on one Earth, which we refer to as Earth Alpha, it's sort of this sort of 1960s, 70s pastiche. And Earth Omega is a kind of a darker, grittier version of our world, but with supervillains and costumed heroes and, all that, going on. So that's in the first series. And in the current series, they've actually met finally and are forced together through circumstances beyond their control, because somebody on a third Earth Zeta, is sending toxic waste to their worlds and poisoning their planets. So that's the series. That's what's going on right now.
It's absolutely, in my opinion, I think it's the best superhero book of the last decade, if not more. I honestly believe that. It's really unbelievably good.
Thank you, man.
Because it hits on so many. So it hits on so many of the tropes I love, and it does everything well. It does the grim, dark adventure well. It does the lighthearted, for the want of a better term, long underwear stuff well. It merges the two of them, and the costume design, the character designs are incredible. Your art, which when you do the covers primarily, some interior. Give me the name of the art teams. I should have these guys' names, of course.
So I'm the cover artist as well as the interior penciler. Then we have Juan Castro, who's the inker, and Juan and I've been working together for 9 years now. Like, he's inked most of the work that I've done over the last 9 years. And if he's not inking it, then I'm inking it myself. So it's, but he does most of it. And then we're working with Andy Troy, who's the colorist, who's a fantastic colorist.
Yeah, the colors are amazing.
And the letterer, Rob Steen, also. And then Tom Payer, who's my co-creator on The Wrong Earth, as well as the editor-in-chief of Ahoy Comics.
Yeah, and it's published by Ahoy.
And he's also writing another book called Penultiman right now, which is another fantastic sort of superhero send-up, but very different than the Wrong Earth, which I think the Wrong Earth lends itself more to, it's more of a parody in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where Penultimate is kind of like it's a funny sort of examination of, a hero in the midst of existential crisis.
Okay. And who doesn't love heroes that are stuck in existential
Oh yeah, no,
crises?
it is Penultimate. The whole thing with Penultimate is that he's the world's greatest hero, but he has like horrible self-esteem issues because he's, from the far future, and they sent him back in time. So in our time, he's the ultimate being, but in his time, he's, considered kind of a throwback and an idiot. And they don't want him. They don't want him there. That's why they keep sending him back.
It's like reverse idiocracy.
Kind of, yeah. It's like he's on our world, he's the smartest man. He's the most powerful being in the world, but he's just got these horrible self-esteem issues. So, and his robot sidekick, this is where the parody part comes in. His robot sidekick, basically solves all of his personal problems while he's away on a mission, and he doesn't know what his sidekick did to solve all his problems while he was gone, which sinks him even into deeper despair.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I got to read that book.
Yeah, no, it's a great book. It really is.
Yeah, and now also there's the other book I wanted to talk about that you're responsible for, or one of the driving forces behind is Black, and its sequel White.
Yeah,
which was the original team on that was you, of course,
right.
Kwanzaa Sajafo and Tim Smith III. Right.
With Kari Randolph doing covers.
Yes,
and then Sarah Litt, and oh God, they're gonna kill me. I keep forgetting.
We'll footnote it. I'll get the notes. It'll be
Derwin, who's, I forget his last name, because I keep confusing him with one of the associate editors at Ahoy, whose name is Darren, who's also a letterer. So it's just like, it's Derwin, who's a very talented. He does all like the great.
Oh wait, Marshall Dillon?
No, not Marshall Dillon. No,
okay.
No. His last, I forget his last name. His first name is Derwin, D-E-R.
Derwin. Okay. Because I know Marshall through other friends, and it's so funny whenever, if people are familiar with the old television show and they meet him, and he's like, yes, my name is Marshall Dillon, yes.
Oh, yeah, no, I've known Marshall since, 2002, 2003, something like that.
Yeah, I think
I did some work for Devil's Due on G.I. Joe, so that's how I met Marshall.
I met him at Motor City Comic Con. Mm-hmm. Through my friend Nolan Collins, because they're both, Michigan boys.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, I don't know if you ever been to that con, but that's a great con that I hope comes back. Motor City,
I did it once years ago when I was doing the marketing over at Action Lab. So we did the show 1 year.
Yeah.
So I had, that period of time, that 3 years that I was like the vice president of a comic book, like a vice president at a comic book company, like going to conventions constantly.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And I was still drawing at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, Molly Danger, the Action Verse stuff is great. Molly Danger is amazing. Anytime I meet a friend of mine who's got a daughter, who's starting to get to that age where they want to read comic books, I'm like, read Molly Danger. And me, 50-year-old guy, that book's awesome. Just the bad guys in it. Medulla and Little Cavey. I love those guys. I'm like looking at little Cavey. I'm like, holy shit! It's Captain Caveman's a bad guy.
A little Captain Caveman, a little alley-oop also. Like,
Yeah.
with the
Definitely.
forearms and the legs.
And the feet. Yeah.
The feet, yeah.
I didn't realize that. No, definitely alley-oop.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, all right. So we do a segment here. We do called Near Mint to Poor Condition, where we talk about a certain, positive piece of nerd news, and then a not so positive piece of nerd news. And this week I wanted to talk about all the incredible content. That's right. I'm using the word content, Mr. Scorsese. I should be nice because Amazian is right now working on Scorsese graphic biography, which I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff from it, but it looks amazing. But I wanted to talk about all the cool stuff, all the cool media that's coming out.
Oh yeah,
from creators who are people of color and that's specifically geared for people of color. Although that's one of the things I want to say is that my whole life, man, I've always loved characters like Luke Cage. I've always loved Black Panther. I always loved, Monica Rambeau when she was Captain Marvel and Bronze Tiger and it's like that's the thing is I don't understand this concept that you can't create something that's for people of color and white people can't enjoy it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. There shouldn't be that barrier. Unfortunately, you're talking about, fighting against systemic and ingrained prejudices. And, you're talking about generational prejudice. For years and years and years, people were told, okay, this is for Black people, this is for white people, and the two things shouldn't mix. And anytime that you had, like, I even, growing up myself in Brooklyn, we were almost the same age, growing up in Brooklyn, but, while everybody else in my neighborhood was listening to like UTFO and, New Edition and all that stuff. Yeah, I was listening to John Williams soundtracks and Queen.
Yeah.
So but that was how I was raised. I was my mom raised me on disco and rock music, and there was no such thing as forbidden media in my house. So I watched everything. I watched kung fu movies. I watched black sexploitation movies. I watched whatever, whatever came across, superhero stuff. I was never told that this is for white people, but you get a lot of people, depending on where you are, where you're living in the country, for years and years and years, who were told, oh, you can't, don't listen to soul music. That's for Black people.
Yeah.
I'll use the,
I don't know how many, but that you're being polite. Yeah.
I'm being polite, but that's basically how it was.
Yeah, I don't know how many parents when I was a kid, if me and my friends were watching a show like Good Times or The Jeffersons for that matter.
But that was passable because these were shows that were created by a white guy.
Yeah, but I'm saying still white parents were like, what are you watching this for?
Right, really?
Oh yeah, man, the fucking Long Island, dude.
I could kind of see that. But it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing. Like when you, even on a personal level, I was told my entire childhood by anybody who heard me speak,
you're very well spoken.
Oh, I'm very well spoken, and I must be trying to be white.
Oh yeah, that shit too.
But that's I will tell you this. You talk to my mother, she uses the same diction, the same language. I was raised by educated people. I was raised to speak a certain way.